Stuart Page heifer station. We're about on the banks of the Clarence River, about 50 kilometres northwest of Grafton. We're a breeder property. We specialise in producing weaners and vealers. We've been using AgSolution products since roughly about 2004. So I started with mineral blocks and then progressed primarily to loose lick now. And then with the range of products, we use a lot of phosphorus lick in our green season, and then we got the option of using protein licks through our dry season. Before using higher phosphorus licks, we were having trouble with some paddocks. They were picking up bones, and sometimes some paddocks you'd have to be pulling the odd bone out of something's mouth, and then you'd notice in the spring when the season would break, the cattle would actually slip, and I think that was a phosphorus and calcium deficiency because they depleted their own stores. So by having that access to that year round, it's sort of reduced that problem. And also in the winter, we used to have a lot of trouble cattle chasing green feed and going into bogs and getting stuck, whereas with the use of protein now, we find we don't have that issue, or very rarely have that issue now. Even though the bogs are not fenced off, they're getting their proteins, so they don't need to go and chase that. We've been using phosphorus both in our licks and our fertiliser as, this area is naturally low in phosphorus, so it makes sense to use it to put it back into the ground. But then with our cattle, I've come to understand that phosphorus, when things are green, is our limiting factor for growth. So that's been our big reason. So we use it with our cows, but also with our weaners and our steers as well. Economics of using the lick, it seems to add up quite well for us. So I've been measuring our use of it, measuring that against the kilograms we produce each year, and we've been using it 10 cents a kilogram of production. These harder times have been increasing it a bit more, and the cattle have been holding well through the tough times, so that extra spending, an extra couple of cents on top of that 10 cents, it seems to add up very well for us. Using the lick out in the paddocks, it's been a bit of a learning curve for us. So we were initially just putting it out once a month, and then sometimes they'd eat it all very quickly and sometimes they wouldn't. But I've sort of found by putting it out and sort of satisfying the craving, then the appetite seems to normalise and taper back down to just a slow, consistent rate then. Whereas if I miss it and go back later, they tend to gorge it a bit more. So I've been making more of an effort to keep the lick out more consistently, and I think overall the use is probably the same, or could even be a fraction less in some cases, as opposed to the letting them run out and then letting them gorge it again. 13-14 was a very tough time because it was a tough season during there, and then plus there was a massive oversupply of cattle coming onto the market for slaughter, and that was all on the back of the live ban in Indonesia, which then flowed back onto, even affected us here in this area, even though we're nowhere near there. So that was a time you couldn't get your cattle, you needed to get rid of your cattle, needed to go, but you couldn't do it. And then also the tough season, but we just kept putting out more supplement too, and that was the first time I'd aggressively used the supplements. Even though financially we're under more pressure, but my feeling was it was going to be beneficial to keep the cattle in good health, and it did. It proved. We came through there and we had full calving rates in the following years when the good prices were there, so certainly paid for itself many times over.